It's not about win or lose. It's about win or learn. It's about becoming the man you were made to be. You're listening to Undefeated Men.
Spartans! What is your profession?
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, Undefeated Men. Whenever it is for you, we're here on another podcast with Cal and Arden, and we're going to talk today about one of our least favorite subject matters, difficulty. We like to say a good man embraces life's difficulties while finding rest where he can. That's our fourth pillar. Arden, have you ever found anything difficult in life?
A lot. More than I'd like to admit. But I think, just to kind of, I'm going to go around that question, then I'm going to come back and answer it. Because, of course, I do find things difficult. But I actually find it really cool how consistent God is. So, like, he's brings beauty out of ashes, right? His strength is made perfect in our weakness. I said that in the last podcast. And you and I were just recently at a wine tasting, and God shows this in the scripture, and he also shows it in life. We were at a wine tasting last week, and the guy who is doing presenting like all the different wines and taste and what hints of what this and that you'll get in that sip or that glass of wine, said that I just found this so interesting that the best wine comes from the most rocky ground, the hardest ground to grow anything. The best tasting wine comes out of that kind of soil and that kind of environment. So I come back to that as like, okay, wow, learning to appreciate, going through that. Like we said, that a good man embraces life's difficulties, and that's come taken a long time for me to actually appreciate that and embrace it, and actually understanding, wait a minute here, God has something more for me. Like this, going through this makes me into sweeter wine. Like I'm more wise. And not saying it's not me, it's God and what he's doing through that suffering or through that lesson and that he's giving us. And sometimes we've prayed for that. Like I've said in a different podcast, we've prayed for patience, we've prayed for all these things, and he's granting that to us, but not by, hey, patience, Cal, but like, hey, you need to go through this for your edification. That's, and I hope that that circles around. Now I'm going to answer it. I mean, I find right now in my life, I find just being consistent, waking up in the morning, I have to work out just, when I don't, you don't necessarily have to. It's not like a life or death thing, but forcing yourself to get up every morning. Like, I need to do this and I need to be consistent about it. And I'm not the most organized person, but just for me, something that helps me being embracing life's difficulties is getting up in the morning and doing my workout and defeating that in the first bit of the day. And, then I do like my Bible study and devotions, and getting those things done helps me start my day right. And when I don't do those, I'm trash.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, right? That difficulty, that's the state of being hard to do. So difficulty is the state of being hard to do. So Arden finds the state of waking up early to consistently do something hard to do. Some of you say, well, it's easy for me. I just snap awake. Okay, well, that's not a difficulty for you then. Yeah. That's not a challenge. That's not an obstacle. That's not a hardship. We're looking to address life's difficulties by developing resilience in ourselves, our ability to recover from adversity. We develop endurance, the endurance to stick to whatever it is every day, every morning, get up, endure that every morning, that hardness of getting myself out of bed, being tough about it, persevering through the days when I just don't feel like giving up and my alarm goes off, and just getting up. Now, I'm not a person who really sets alarm anymore. I get up when the light comes up. So this time of the year, that's 5:30, 5:45. I'm up. The light wakes me up. Later in the winter, I'll get up a little bit later. So for me, I understand where Arden is with this. I remember back in the day when I had to set my alarm and I had to get up. I was getting up crazy early. might have a jump brief at 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, 2:30 in the morning. So you got to get up at 2:15 because you got all your stuff ready. So you're just like literally grabbing this and doing this stuff. Our hair was very short back then, as U.S. Marines and whatnot. So didn't have to really get my hair ready. I literally just grabbed my go bag and off I went. It might be 5 minutes from where my brief was, maybe 10 minutes. So it was very little time to wipe the sleep out of my eyes and get my car and be there on the dot of when I was supposed to be there. So that was something that we might find difficult. So in order to address those difficult things, we have to fight against our desire for ease.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, waking up early in the morning is not the hardest thing I've ever done. I've done way harder things. But in this stage of life, just being that consistent about it.
Sure be easier to stay in bed.
Yeah, exactly. I have my beautiful wife in bed. She's warm. My daughter crawls in probably like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning every morning, and she's there. She's cute. She's snuggling up to mom and dad. That's beautiful. I love snuggling my girls. But you got to get up because I want things better in life. And my wife didn't want me, she wants me to be in bed, and I'm not saying sleeping in is bad. I do that every now and then, but I also want to get things done. And if I don't do that, then I notice I'm behind the 8 ball all day long, just it's behind.
Yeah, sure. So Arden's just using a real simple one of when he gets up or doesn't get up as an example of embracing some of those life's difficulties to get some end state that you want. It's hard for him to have that consistency to do that each morning. For others of you, like I said, it's not hard for me because my body just naturally wakes up.
Yeah.
So that would be, I'm not overcoming any sort of challenge or obstacle or hardship. It's effortless.
Yeah.
It's effortless. I just get up. It's easy because the light comes on. It's ping. What would be effort for me would be to stay in bed. My wife, as you were talking about your wife, my wife sometimes says, "Oh, no, stay in bed."
Yeah.
And she might hear me start to rustle or something like that. And so she'll slap an arm on me and try to keep me there in bed.
Yeah.
So I'll just cuddle her, but I can take about 30 seconds and then I got to get up.
Yeah.
My mind I wake up, my mind is at it.
Yeah.
I can't turn it off. I can't close all the thoughts that are coming into my mind. Some people, that's not how you are.
That's for me going to sleep.
Who are you?
That's for me going to sleep.
Right. So this is the difference. That's what I'm saying. If you're a person that gets up early, maybe you have trouble staying up late.
Yeah.
If you're a person who stays up late, maybe you have trouble getting up early.
Yeah.
So what is the difficulty? And we're talking about more serious, difficult things in life, of course. But what do you find difficult?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. What do you, as a listener, you might be going through something like me that I went through when I was at my sickest and facing death. That is way more difficult than waking up. That old person, I'm not saying, I'm not complaining, but I say that, finding it difficult to wake up early in the morning. I'm not complaining by that because that Arden 4 or 5 years ago slapped this Arden, what are you talking about? Difficult, waking up. I'm not complaining about that. What I'm saying is, we all go through battles and there's different phases in our life, and finding that embracing life when you're going through those issues and just grabbing onto God and be like, I can't do this without you.
Right. One of the things that we say in this is we accept and confront the hardships and challenges that come our way.
Accepting is a big one. I love it.
Accepting and confronting.
Yeah.
It's not just accepting it.
Yeah.
You got to confront it. Say, hey, I'm going to have to hit this bad boy head on.
Yeah.
So whether it's setting your alarm to make sure you're going to get up or setting a goal for yourself and being hard on yourself when you don't do it. Arden and I have talked about, I had a complain thing that I had going through my mind. And I was always wondering when I would share this story, but it's a funny story.
Yeah.
So driving across country, and I said to myself, I complain too much. I said, I'm going to nip this in the bud. So every time I think about complaining about something, I'm going to punish myself with 10 burpees. Okay, so at home it was easy, in the office it was easy. So for whatever reason, we were driving across country. I don't remember where we were going, but we had a pretty long drive. And so I started thinking complaints in my mind, or if I said a complaint, either way.
Yeah.
I was just keeping up a tally. And I got up to 70 burpees. And I was like, I better stop. That's going to take me a while to do. I stopped, and so we were underneath an overpass or something. It's middle of summer. My children are in the back of the van. I'm over on my wife's side of the van, away from traffic. literally doing 70 burpees.
Mm.
Sweaty as all get out. If you haven't done 70 burpees before, just go ahead and try 70 burpees in a row.
Oh, it's tough. It is outrageous.
You'll be sweaty.
Oh yeah, you will be. Well, I also like, that's so commendable because nobody else is forcing you. You didn't tell that to anybody. Maybe at some point you did. But
I told my wife I was going to do it.
Yeah, but you weren't telling it. Every time you thought about it, it wasn't like she heard those thoughts and was like tallying those up as well. You were keeping those, and you were keeping that intellectual honesty in check. You're like, hey, you did this. I'm going to hold you to it. And that's very...
Yeah, all she had to do was say, hey, that sounds like a complaint. I'd be like, man, 10 burpees.
Yeah.
10 burpees.
Yeah.
Rats.
Well, I think that's very commendable. I love that story. But facing those challenges and what you're going through head on, and then I can't remember the exact words that you said to describe that, dealing with it,
Facing them head on.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't avoid them or become overwhelmed by them, but just, smack them in the face.
We often do. Like, we'll see those difficulties, like, wait a minute here. I don't have to deal with that right now. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to put that to the back burner, and hopefully, and then sometimes it'll just snowball and just get bigger and just bite you in the rear.
Yeah. I always say that about myself in my work life. I'm not a procrastinator and then a procrastinator of no activity.
Mm-hmm.
I will do work, but it's kind of like the child that sits down with their plate of food at the table, right? Mm-hmm. And they go, oh, I don't really like that over there. It might be peas, might be corn, might be whatever. It's a vegetable generally, right? Or maybe it's meat. It doesn't matter what it is, but the child doesn't want to eat it. So they kind of eat everything else up and don't want to get to eating that. And I like to say, I don't really want to do this, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so as a matter of discipline in my life of how I want to take these things head on, I say, I know I don't want to do that. I'm going to start there.
Yeah.
So that's done. So say it's peas and I don't like peas. Then I'm going to eat my peas first. Like, okay, sweet. Now I can enjoy the rest of my meal.
Yeah.
And I think about my work day like that sometimes too. I say,
like that.
What is the thing I just don't want to do? Oh man, I don't want to do that. So I might get after that because I actually really dislike doing it. Mm-hmm. Now, if that's something that I know someone who wouldn't mind doing that work, say works for me or works with me, and they're willing to do that, you should just ask that person, are you willing to do that? Yeah. It's not like a child saying, hey, will you eat my peas? They don't. No, it's not something I need for the health. But if I don't have someone to do that and it's work I'm going to have to do, just best to get after that thing you dislike first.
I've noticed that too. Just get it done.
Just get it done. You'll feel so much better after doing it.
Yeah.
The reason why is that so many of us, as we're, again, recognize that opportunity for personal development by overcoming this thing. What is Arden doing when he's attacking the difficulty of getting up in the morning and working out? He is setting himself up to see that, hey, this is an opportunity that I've got here. I can do a little bit of personal development. And maybe this is just a season. You might not get up early for the rest of your life, but this might just be a season.
Well, and something that I do, like, I've told myself, okay, like there was a couple different things. Was when I first started saying, hey, Arden, you're going to hold yourself to this, I would invite a friend. Like, okay, I'm not going to just like let the friend be there on the doorstep and I'm asleep. So I would, if he wasn't coming, I might be like, oh, snooze, Yeah. But I was like, no, I got to really exercise mental toughness. And when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And we've talked about this. And this has been, a years long process. Even before I was cancer free, just like when you say you're going to do it. So, getting a friend to wake up in the morning with me, and him knowing that I'm waiting for him, or me knowing that he's going to wait for me, we're not going to let that happen. So just get up and do it together. That's great. Another one is I would always give myself like, hey, 90 days straight, Saturday, Sunday. And I've found out right now I do it Saturday and Sunday. I can't. I'm every morning I'm gonna wake up the same because I don't want it to throw my schedule off. But
yeah, so that when you look at the level of determination that Arden has, we're saying, where's it in life that you need to take that difficult obstacle or that challenge and throw some discipline at it, put a plan together, your action plan, what I'm going to do to address this and overcome this, and then start taking steps. Maybe you don't go 90 straight days. Maybe you say, I'll do it Monday to Friday and I'll sleep in on Saturday and Sunday. Arden found that wasn't working for him. Yeah. So he tweaked it, said, no, I got to go straight. I got to do it 7 days a week.
Yeah.
5 days a week wasn't working for me. Made me not want to do it on Monday.
Exactly. And I also, my thought process is like, if I want to get the things done that I need to get done and I want to get done, and that I have all my fingers in so many pies because that's just the way I work. And the apple falls not far from the tree because my dad's the same way. And, knowing that my dad's into that too. I've got, my dad and I have been accountability partners. Like, I'm like, hey, even this morning, I'm like, hey, Dad, did you wake up early? He's like, yes. Awesome, cool. He calls me up like, hey, Arden, you wake up? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That accountability is great.
Notice they're so positive. They definitely woke up each time. No, Dad, I didn't.
Well, it has happened where I haven't. Like, there, in the past, it's happened. He's like, Arden, got to get to it. And I'll be, he's like, and well, I actually feel bad. Like, I'm like, Dad, did you wake up? He's like, no, Arden, I need to get back into it. I'm like, cool. And then the next morning I'll call him up at that time, or he'll do the same. Well, those help. It helps. Like, I've mentioned this book a couple times, Atomic Habits by James Clear. He says, and he emphasizes this so many times, that if you want something in life, then be around the people that already achieve that thing. So if you want that skill or that knowledge, start hanging around the people that are already practicing that skill set, are good at it, or already have that knowledge and are using it.
Yeah, you can see that work its way out in multiple places in life. You get around a true master carpenter, whether he's a framer, he's a finished carpenter, whatever type of carpentry that person does. Get around a master carpenter. You are going to learn a few habits that you never thought about before. They'll walk you through a thing or two. Whenever I'm doing this, I approach it this way and I look at it like that. And you just go, I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
never thought about approaching
it
that way. Yeah, trick of the trade. Pro tip.
Yeah, when you're doing it that much and that often and that long and for that many years, it's like you
learn some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think about. You learn some stuff. When we think about difficulty, we don't want to just keep it to what we find difficult to do, but also could be a person. Who do you find difficult?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes people are just difficult. So God, to our point of, hey, Lord, teach me patience. He says, oh, look, here's a 5-year-old. here's a 11-year-old that doesn't want to do that. Here's a 45-year-old who does not want to follow through on their things.
Yeah.
Going to teach that person's going to be difficult, and you're going to need to up your game to deal with that difficulty.
Obnoxious people, like there's
Sure.
those people out there which God does love. Obviously He's working with them and their convictions, and they might not be seeing what they need to be doing and doing what they, what God's put on their heart, or might not even just completely oblivious, right? And you might find it hard to be around those people, and I've had those people in my life too, and I know that you do as well. But if God loves those people, we need to at least have that exercise patience as well. We've been, I'm sure, absolutely obnoxious. God's like, hey, what are you talking about? Stop it. We're like, please. And He's like, no. But like, He's exercised so much, like the highest amount of patience, for us. And I've been convicted about that in the past. I'm like, that person's just so obnoxious. I can't be around them for one more minute. And I'm like, wait a minute here.
God is around me.
Yes. Yeah.
How obnoxious am I?
Exactly.
Yes.
Asking for everything about me, everything that happens to us. There's a song that I love that helped, it really encouraged me when I was going through cancer is, why? And I think it was by Mercy and Me. And the chorus kind of goes like this, like, why is the question that's never far away. So and that's so true with us fickle human beings. Why? So it's like, why me? Why this? But yeah. We are obnoxious.
Yeah, we are totally
I have
obnoxious.
Some quotes written out here, but I'll let you get to something.
Yeah, sure. So let me ask you guys a couple more questions for you to think about, listeners. And we're going to be thinking about these same questions, right? So if resilience is the ability to recover from adversity, that endurance, the toughness, the perseverance to stay in it, to keep working on it. The opposite of that is that I might be fragile or weak or vulnerable. In other words, vulnerable being there's something somebody else can exploit. And a lot of times that difficulty you're dealing with is the fact that you're fragile. You have a fragile, situation here, and it's being broken by that person, or you're weak because you can't bear with somebody who's got whatever annoying habit that might be to you, or you have a vulnerability to people who do something. And the truth is, it's best for us to learn that patience. The Bible often refers to that as long suffering. I love that.
Yes.
To take the word patience and break that into long suffering. Yes, they're the same thing. The reason why I like long suffering for me is to suffer through what it is for a long time.
A long time, and that's
God
it's so
suffers
true.
through our nonsense for a long time, and that's what we should do for others. And it's hard to do. I'm not saying that's easy. That's one thing we're both saying. We don't walk out in perfection.
We don't. But we're meant to be
close to.
trying. We're meant to be working on it 1% better, and at least be aware of. Don't be like, oh, I'm good at that, and you're not. Like acknowledge that you're not good at it, and work on being better.
Yeah, think, where do you need, you listener, me, Arden, where do we need to be more resilient? Where do we need to persevere? When am I being tough? When do I need to be more tough? Or when am I being tough, or when am I being weak? How is this toughness that you're presenting? Am I being tough to somebody, tough on someone? Is it good? Good means it's right or virtuous. Am I being good in the application of my toughness? Somebody might need me to come alongside them and
Some people
shoulder up with them to carry through on something.
There's I've said it before. My dad always called it tough love, and for me, that I needed that, and I didn't appreciate it at the time. When I was growing up in my teenage years, I didn't appreciate that what he was doing, and the tough love and being rough on me was making me into a real, like a man that I wasn't gonna just complain. And now, and as an adult, I appreciate that, and I see that what it was doing. But sometimes we can be tough, and it's not the good kind of tough. It's just straight up being tough because you're just wanting to be a pain. You're not trying to teach someone a lesson and wanting them to grow. You're not wanting what's better for them. You're wanting them to actually feel pain.
Yeah, tough in that case is almost more mean.
Yeah.
Rather, when we think about that's mean. And people would say, you could have said that about your dad. When it was the good kind of tough love, you could have said, that's mean. He wasn't actually being mean. He was saying, I want Arden to develop here.
Yeah, he was wanting
me to learn. He needs to improve here, and this is how I'm going to help him improve.
My dad always said, you're gonna do this, and or like there were times where like, hey Dad, thank you so much. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'll get out of you blood, sweat, or tears. Blood, sweat, or tears. I'll get it out of you.
Nice.
So like if he gave us $20 to go buy fireworks, I was like, hey, thanks, Dad. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna get out of you blood, sweat, or tears.
Yeah.
And that always, is something I use today.
At $20 worth of value for those that aren't following what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not saying being tough is bad. Neither are you. But make sure when you're being tough and having that tough love, that's out of the genuine care that you're wanting that person to develop.
That's right. That's the right and virtuous. Yeah. It's virtuous.
And that's what God does with us.
That's right. He's tough, or we need him to be tough on us. Mm-hmm. He's saying, listen, I've given you everything you need to do to take care of the situation here. You asked me to help you develop patience. Yeah. Here's a person that is going to help you with that.
Oh, you don't see this, but that road that you wanted life to be all well, that's going to lead you down in destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can't see that.
Yeah, we can't.
We can't see the future, and he can. Yeah, that's right.
I have some quotes here, and that'll let you to get some more food thought, even though you have it all written down. Cal's super organized. But these are just some quotes here, guys, that I kind of just been surfing the internet. Surfing the internet. I like that. Anyway, just some of these are not all of these guys who said these quotes are Christian. Some are just secular. But it's funny how even secular people, they find that truth, and that some of that truth is still biblical. It shows you how like real truth just still comes. Everything comes.
Truth is universal.
Yeah, exactly. It comes back to God. But here's some just short quotes, longer quotes. I'm not even going to say the list of people that said them. I'm just going to go through them. I have like 20 of them, but I'm not going to say all of them. Here's number one, and this is a short one. The only way out is through. That kind of goes back to what we were saying in the beginning. Just face your difficulties and act on them, or make your decisions. Turn your wounds into wisdom. That's number two. The harder the struggle, the more glorious the triumph. Growth is in discomfort. That's number four. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. That is just a kind of encouragement quote. Number five. That was number 5. Number 6 is strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from the tongue-tied indomitable will. Just a will to overcome. And I've found that to be true. And we've talked about it several times. Like even some of our best warriors out there, they don't let themselves think that they're going to quit. They don't start going down that trail. Like, hey, I'm going to, we talked about, a Navy SEAL training in one of the books I was reading. I'm going to make it to lunch. I'm going to make it to breakfast or dinner. You're not going to I'm going to make it through. And when I first started doing cold plunges a couple years ago, that is not the hardest thing I've ever done. But when you get in there, your body's just telling you to scream. So like I'd start on my way there, and I'm like already kind of getting this feeling in my stomach. And this is in the middle of winter. I didn't have a cold plunge tank. We were just Dad and I were doing it in the river. Snow on the side, just like.
I was dumb enough to come out to one of their invitations till I realized what it was.
But I would start telling myself on the way there, you're gonna get wet, you're gonna get cold, and you're gonna come right out. And that'll be it. It's not that hard. You're gonna get wet, you're gonna get cold, and you're gonna just go through it. And that's what I kind of did when I was sick. I'm like, hey, you're sick. God's got a plan. Trust in Him. Do everything that you're called to do. Your due diligence as a man. That's what I would try to push myself towards. But whatever He has planned is good.
Yeah,
So.
I like that. And what you talked about there was steps, more or less.
Yeah.
And so what we should do is attack the next step. And I love that example of the Navy SEAL who was encouraging himself with saying, you're going to make it to breakfast.
Yeah.
You're going to make it to lunch. You're going to make it to dinner. Each one was just a next step in that day. So when you talked about getting into the river for the cold plunge, I come down there for that cold plunge to join you guys the one time that I did it. And I just said to myself, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in there. I'm not going to scream out like a girl.
Yeah.
I just told myself I was going to. Made up in my mind I was going to. So I did it.
Yeah.
That's why I often just say, if you want to do something, just decide you're going to and do it.
Exactly. I love
That doesn't mean can say something crazy like I'm going to win the gold medal in the 100 meters. What's his name just won it yesterday. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but yesterday or the day before here, don't know when this is going to film, but the Summer Olympics this is going to post this podcast, but the Summer Olympics are kind of wrapping up here on the day that we're recording this, and they just ran the 100 meters, and the guy that won just barely won.
Yeah.
I can't say, hey, I'm going to go and win 100 meters because I don't have that genetic gift to be that fast.
Especially that training for,
Well, and I'm 54.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be very happy probably to run 15-second 100. Yeah. I don't even have a clue how fast I can run 100 meters. But it wouldn't be very fast as compared to a guy who just ran it in under 10 seconds. Yeah. He ran 9:79. Yeah. That's fast. Oh, my goodness, that's fast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to run that fast. So, hey, when we're saying make up your mind you're going to do it, it still has to be real.
Yeah.
It still has to be real. Like getting into the water and not screaming like a girl and being in there for 1 minute and coming out of the water, those were all doable dues.
Oh, yeah.
When you bit off the chunks that you were using to motivate yourself and with cancer, whether it was the laps that you did or whatever your approach was for that given day, it was a bite-sized chunk.
Yeah. Well, if I looked at myself back then and said, hey, you've got to do all this, it's like someone going through like a ultra marathon, and if they're just thinking about everything that they got to do instead of one step at a time, then probably some of them are probably just thinking about other things, trying to get their mind off of it, just trying to go through it, just like, okay, not even gonna think about it, you can't think about every single process. You just think at one at a time and take them as they come. But I love it. Even getting, you're embracing life's difficulties, and you're facing them head on, and you're making those little bite-sized chunks, and you're taking those little doable do's, and you're saying, I'm going to do that. And you get those done. 1, 2, 3. You start, your mind you actually do become that person. Like, when I say I'm going to do it, I get it done. And you stop wishy-washy. You stop being wishy-washy and be like, okay, I'm going to do it, and you don't get it done. And
that's the one thing we were I had down on my notes here was, how do you develop that resilience and overcome these difficulties? you have to use a combination of mental, emotional, and practical strategies to do that. Some effective ways to build that resilience in your life, the resilience to make it through life's difficulties. One of those is set and pursue goals. Those are those bite-sized chunks. As Arden talked about, you're breaking down the larger task into manageable steps. That's the bite-sized chunks. And celebrate these small achievements.
Yeah.
You probably celebrated the first time you did X amount of lamps when you had cancer.
Oh yeah.
You probably celebrated the first time you hit 1 minute, then
Yeah.
3 minutes in the cold plunge, then 5 minutes. At the end, you guys would stay in there for ages.
Yeah.
Now you just stopped because it wasn't a theoretical
sometimes
reason to keep going.
Sometimes stupid, I'm sure.
Yeah,
we
sure.
would push ourselves to stupid limits.
And as long as you're not risking life or limb to do these sort of things, some of that stuff is about
Yeah.
pushing yourself, like
Yeah.
an ultra marathon. Some people would say, hey, that's detrimental to your health. Other people say, no, it's not. It's beneficial. Regardless, whoever's in there, they're pushing themselves for a reason, for a motivational reason that you or I might not understand because we're not them.
Yeah.
But that person that's doing it is showing the stick-to-itiveness to say, hey, my goal is to do an ultra marathon. I'm going to run this 50 miler.
Yeah.
50 miles. I'm going to run the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a
There's
admirable goal.
this one guy, and I just read his story briefly, so I don't know much about him. I actually forget his name, but I'll just kind of tell, and maybe next time I'll just remember his name and just remember to bring it up. But he lives somewhere in Europe, and he ran all the way from like Scotland all the way down, like just like straight up, like all the way down the whole country, and it was like a marathon each day for like 90 days. I can't remember how many days, but he was wanting to, like, he was doing a charity fundraiser event. His child had died from just a tragedy, being sick, and he was wanting to like help other people going through that, and just so commendable. I'm like, oh man, what a stud! Just like, he was running, he was biking, he was kayaking, just straight up like crazy, just every day, nonstop, and told himself that he was going to do it one day at a time. And I was like, I read that story, I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So that's the thing too, right? So we're setting these realistic goals. Again, break them down into more manageable steps. That gentleman was breaking into each day's effort. And he was probably stayed committed. He probably had a few times where he struggled to maintain focus and motivation.
Mm.
That just means you're going to stay committed to your goals even when faced with setbacks.
I love that. I was going to, just at the end of that, I was going to read this from Winston Churchill. This is one of my favorite quotes. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.
The courage to continue. I love that. And we talk about being courage, and we like commitment. Okay, so that's one of the things, that's one of our pillars too. We want to be honest. We want to be courageous. We want to be committed. Okay, so you have to have the honesty with yourself that, hey, I need more courage here, and I'm going to show the commitment to complete this task and stick on this difficulty. And so again, getting back to these, a few of these practical strategies, using that as the impetus to do this is, I need to enhance my emotional regulation. I need to be mindful. I need to meditate. I need to develop these coping skills. So that means have the mindfulness, the meditation to stay calm during a stressful situation. So I'm going to okay, that's what the meditation means. Okay, hey, calm down here. I can get through this. So you're saying that to yourself, not maybe necessarily someone else. Yeah. Maybe you are saying it to other people, but also to yourself. Okay, all right, calm down. Okay, we can do this here. And then that practical coping strategy. All right, I'll take a few deep breaths and do that. Okay, let me just relax my muscles. Maybe if it's a difficulty that's over a long period of time, you might journal, write down, make some notes. Those are all good ways to enhance your emotional regulation. Maybe you're going to lean on some people for strong relationships, whether that's your spouse, your friends, your family. You want to engage and develop some community around embracing this difficulty that you're going through. I'm sure that you had some strong relationships with other people who were going through cancer, a strong community of people that were encouraging you. All of us here on the hilltop, you knew we were rooting for you, and we told you often, praying for you. Oh, yeah. Is there something I can do for you? Can I help you? How you doing? I mean, there were all these practical ways people were reaching out to you.
Oh yeah,
in the community.
It's sweet. Like every day I had someone say, "Arden, how you doing?" And it's actually sometimes it would get on my nerves because I'd be like, and it was just some people that didn't see me every day. They would be like, "Arden, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing great." And even if I wasn't doing great,
Which is going to bring me to another point as soon as he finishes.
I would be like,
yeah.
I'm doing great, even if I wasn't. And they'd be like, are you really doing great? I'm like, yes, I'm doing great. Like, and sometimes I actually was. I was no lie. I was doing great, and they expected, since I was still dealing with cancer, that I wasn't doing great. I'm like, I'm good.
Right. They almost wanted you to be broken.
Yeah.
But you were doing this, and this next point is cultivating a positive mindset. So Arden was cultivating that positive mindset when he was saying, hey, I'm doing great, whether I was doing great or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He literally was choosing to have a positive mindset, saying, I'm doing great. His greatness might not be he felt great on that day. He meant, compared to how I used to feel, I'm doing great today.
I actually had I'm a big funny guy, big into dad jokes. And I actually had this thing whenever someone would say, hey, Arden, how you feeling? I'm like, feeling sugar and spice, everything is nice. It's like, I just kind of say that. My father-in-law has this thing, and he has a story. He tells it actually quite with a lot of humor, just very funny. But he says, he was like, I remember when Arden was really sick, and we came down from Canada and we were visiting him, and you'd be like, hey Arden, how you doing? He'd be like, I'm doing good. And he had this alien on his neck just sucking the life out of him. And I actually don't remember a lot of that, but he described that, and I was like, this did have to tell myself, it's good.
Yeah. So Arden again was improving his mood and outlook, being thankful for the things that he did have. Okay. Those are practicing that gratitude helped him to have that good, positive mindset. And he reframed his negative thoughts. I love that phrase. Reframe your negative thoughts. Shift your perspective to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than looking at that challenge as an insurmountable obstacle that I'll never get over and there's no way I'll make it through this. No, just reframe that.
And the more, and this is like, I know this to be true and I believe it with all my heart. The more you just dwell on that and think about everything you're going through, or think about how much this person hates you, or how much your job sucks, or think about how much this relationship isn't working out, or this or that, the more it actually will become so. The more it will become so, unless you choose to reframe how that looks and what perspective you're going to look through. Like what pair of binoculars are you going to look through?
Yeah.
Are you going to look through the good pair? Or are you going to look through the ones that are like cloudy and like grungy and that actually show no hope at the end?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. So sometimes maybe we're taking those binoculars and we're looking through them and still got the covers on the end.
Yeah.
You're the person that's looking through them with the covers in, or you remember to take the cover off and look, oh, wow, now I can see out there. So if you have those covers on, you're not going to see anything but the cover. And that's what people are doing. They're looking at this obstacle, saying there's an obstacle completely in my way. And there is. There's the cover. You just need to flip the cover lens there to create positive thoughts where you are currently having a negative thought. And just reframe it. Reframe it in a more positive manner. Mm-hmm. Another thing that you can do to develop this resilience, and this is one that resonates with us, and Arden was talking about it already this morning, was take care of your physical health. By exercising regularly, you're reducing your stress and improving your mood and boosting your overall health, and maintaining this healthy lifestyle of movement where you're getting enough movement each and every day to keep yourself in that good health. This will include the healthy lifestyle of a balanced diet, getting enough sleep, avoiding excessive use of alcohol or other substances. Okay, you got to maintain that balance in your life. The key for that healthy lifestyle is balance.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add this on to there too. And in the past, I struggled a lot with especially when I was sick, with trying to get out of my own life. And what I mean by that is just trying to be distracted with like watching a movie or playing a video game, so much to the point where it actually affected me. So don't get so focused up if you're going through something to like get out of reality. Focus on reality, because I know this to be true, that when you focus on reality, you're able to confront those issues. And I would have just kind of like pushed them to the side, like we were talking about earlier. Like, wait, I'm just gonna watch this, or they weren't bad, but it was the fact that I wasn't wanting to confront it. I was just wanting to drown out the noise.
Right, and from that, you've learned from experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another key aspect here, is you learn from experience. Your experience of what you went through then and how you wanted to not confront the difficulty, but rather hide from that difficulty. Now you know, hey, when I was successful previously, I didn't ignore what was right in front of me. I confronted it head on and powered my way through it. And you might need to embrace this change. View change as a natural part of life and adapt to new circumstances with flexibility. That'd be like Arden saying, hey, I'm going to get up every morning at, say, 5 a.m. to do my workout. He's embracing that change. That's not normal to him. He's embracing this change. It's got to happen. And then the part of developing problem-solving skills. You got to identify the solutions that are going to help you, rather than dwell on the problem, fix the problem. You want to set up what those decisive actions are that you're going to take and make those decisions and take actions on those decisions rather than, as he was saying earlier, avoiding the challenges. And if you're able to do this, so cultivate a positive mindset, build strong relationships, enhance your emotional regulation through, and that's the meditation and the coping skills, the mindfulness, set and pursue your goals, take care of your physical health, learn from experience, and develop problem-solving skills. Not going to be a whole lot in life that you won't be able to overcome.
Yeah. And even if it gets rough, you just look through it with a positive outlook and like, hey, I know, and I'm not saying this nonchalant, guys, like we're going to go through things and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but look through it through a lens of, this is not our home. God has us, and we just need to be anchored to him.
Right, which leads me to, we feel like we kind of should wrap this one with some great encouragement from Scripture. And whether you're a Christian or not, these are just thoughts that you can really dwell on that are very positive. I would encourage you to consider it from a Christian perspective. But if you're not, this is still,
it's gold.
This is gold. This is just that universal truth that you can use. And in James 1, it says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." So if you're not a Christian, think of some workout, this tough workout that comes your way. You're able to attack that workout or whatever it is, that challenge that comes in life, and you're going to overcome that. You're going to be an overcomer. You're going to become victorious. As a Christian, we should look forward to these various trials, know that this is what's going to test my faith. And out of that, I'm going to find out what it is I need to work on more, or that I can be successful in this particular situation. In Romans, Paul says, and not only that, but we also glory. It's unbelievable that the Bible says this. We glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance. And perseverance, character. And character, hope. Now, hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts by the Holy Spirit who was given to us. So that hope that doesn't disappoint, the hope of getting through this, the hope of better day, the hope of these different things. As soon as you give up hope, you're going to lose.
Yep.
Okay, but if you still have a hope, I don't know, many of you, again, we can think about sports and whatnot, you've probably been there. That last little bit of hope, man, if we just crank like 3 straight threes in a row, we can close out this game and win. As soon as you give up on that, you're not going to do anything. You've already given up. But if you go out there and really battle for it, you might just win this thing. And so with life, it's that same thing. We want to consider it a good thing when we're challenged. We want to glory in our sufferings, because those things, those sufferings, these tough things go in life, that's what's going to help us to become better. And that's why we always love to say that a good man does not shy away from difficulties. He vows and seeks out moments of rest to maintain his well-being, so that this balance of his life helps him to be resilient, to be effective at addressing and overcoming difficulties, and grounded in who he is as a person. That leads to a good man being never stuck.
Absolutely. Guys, stay strong. Like he said, a good man's never stuck.